Hello guys, in this video I'm going to talk about functions and methods. What are functions, what are methods, and we are going to see examples of each in code. So let's start. Functions, they are a mechanism to group a repetitive code together in order to reuse it later in different parts of code. We are going to see this in code. Defining a function, how do we define a function? Simply, we write the return type of the function, the function name, and the parameters this function is going to take. And here we write the function body. The function body is the code that is going to run when you call this function. It's that simple. The first, the first line, or let's say the return type, the function name, and the parameters without the body of the function is called the function signature. You will see this, you might see this later when it comes to more advanced topics. When you see this, remember you have seen this, you have seen the signature in one of my videos. How do we use a function? Simply, we write the function name and we provide the values of the parameters we we added in the function declaration. And one thing to note, when you provide the values of the parameters, they become arguments. One more thing, using a function has another name called, sometimes it's called trigger the function, sometimes it's called invoke the function. So be aware of these different names. Here we have two examples of two functions. One function has a return type of integer. Its name is add. It takes two parameters, integer a, integer b, and it returns a plus b. One thing to note also here, the return type of the function must match what you have declared as a return type. Okay, so you can't in this case return a string because you said I want this function to return an integer. So returning anything other than integer is going to be an error. There are cases where if you return something different than integer, it works, but there will be some value loss. For example, if you return here a double or float or decimal, what you are going to get is only the integer part of this decimal number. That's all. That's what I call loss of value, because you lose the decimal part of this number. Another type of functions, as you can see, we write void instead of integer or double or a return type. This type of functions don't return a value. So a void function is a function that doesn't return a value. In this case, if we look at it, the function body, we see it's only printing to the command line. So there is no return value. This depends on how do you want to declare or to write your function. Sometimes it suits you best to return a value. Sometimes you want something to be set and that's it. You don't want to get any value. This is all about functions. Let's go now and see what methods are. Methods simply are functions declared inside a class. So if you move a function from outside a class to a class, it will be called a method. Okay, how do we use a method? We use the, the object name dot the method name, and we provide the arguments this method takes. We also have examples. I have a class called person. This class has an ID and has a name. We write two methods, one that returns a string. It's called getName. It returns the name property of this object person. And also we have this method of type void. It's called setName. The goal of this method is to set the property name of this person to this provided value. As you can see, there is no return type. Simply, we are assigning this name value to this name property. Now let's move on to code and see how do we use these. Let's start with functions. Suppose you have these variables. let's say these numbers, and you want to calculate the average of these numbers. First thing we do is we declare a variable called sum. This variable is going to be a plus b plus c plus d. Okay, and now we need to calculate the average. Average, we all know it's the sum of the numbers on the count of these numbers. For example, we have four variables here. The sum is the sum of them divided by how many variables do we have. So this is the average. Now we can print it. We can easily say average. And now if we run our program, we should get some value. Okay, it's 5. If we calculate this, we get 7 plus 13 is 20 divided by 4, it's 5. So this is logical. Suppose Suppose you have different numbers. What are you going to do? Define different variables, write this again and again. Every time you need to calculate the average of some numbers. This isn't efficient. This doesn't work. We need a mechanism to only provide these values and get the average every time we need the average of some values. And this is where we start creating. So let's create a function that calculates the average of four numbers and returns it to us. So first we start by declaring the return type of the function. As we can see here, the average, which is the final result, is of type double, which means my function is going to return a double. So I declare this function type as double. Let's call it calculate average, and we give it the parameters. We have integer c, we also have integer d, and now we write the function body. Okay, the function body is going to be sum. We can move this, we can move it here, and we can return. It depends on how would you like to do it. We can take this out also and put it here. Now we can return average, and that's it. Now instead of keep writing these steps, we can come here and say calculate average, and we can say a b c d, and that's it. We have calculated the value, the average, but we are not printing the average. So in order to do so, we can say we can do it like this. Now if we run our program, we should get the same result. Okay, now let's do a function where it prints the value but doesn't return the average, but it prints it. I will keep copy and paste this function, and instead of double, I'll make it void, and instead of calculate, I'll make it print average. Now, as you can see, all I have to do is write average, and that's it. And now, instead of writing console.writeLine for this function, I can just call print average, provide ABCD, and now I will get, if I run the program, I get the 5. But one thing I can do, which is smarter than this, is because I have a function that calculates the average, why should I write this again? I can easily delete this now and say double average equals calculate average and call ABCD, and now I can print the average here. And this, I don't need this anymore. All I need is the print. If I run this program, I get the same result. Now you have seen, what you have seen is two types of code reuse. First, I reused this code. I can reuse this code to calculate average every time I needed it. And now here in the print average, I also call this function. So I reuse this code inside another function. And also I started using this function that uses two bunch of codes. The code that is here and the code that is here in this small line. So this is why we use functions. They make our work easy, and it makes it look that it makes more sense, more logical. Okay, those are functions, very easy. I hope it's clear for you guys. Now I'm going to start with methods. As I said, methods are functions, but when declared inside a class, they become methods. So let me write a method that can set the value of this property name, and a method that would get the value of this property name. So let's start with the set function method. Set name, we provide the parameter, and simply we say name equals name. Logically, we don't need to return anything. That's why it's void. One thing also to note, because I'm assigning this value to this property, they must be of the same type. String, string. Now I can say public string return type get name. It doesn't take any parameters. It gives me back name. Okay. As you can see, I am returning this property name. One thing also to note, the return type of this method must be the same return type of the variable that comes after the return. So this function must return a string because it's declared as of type string. Okay, this function can be written in another way. We can take this off. This is also new. We can say name. Writing this is the same as writing return name, the same. So if I comment this, now name, though both are the same. This will give us the same result. Now we have declared these two methods. Now let's come here and use these methods. In order to use them, we need to create a person. Now, if we write person dot set name, we can give this person a name, and now we can get the name by get name, and that's all. But as you can see, if we say get name, we won't see any result in our command line, so we can easily print what gets returned from get name. Now, if we run our program, we get the name of the person. Okay. Okay. Now, one can say, why should I, why can't we go and add a print person name inside this person class? I think it's a good idea, so let's implement it. Void print name. We can say console right now, and we can say get name. Once again, code reusability, I used the getName method inside another method. And now if I come here and say, instead of getName, I can say person.print name. Now if I run my program, I get the name of the person. One thing also to note, because print name now print name is getting the get name. I can easily, if I want to restrict access to this method, I can go and make it private, and everything also works the same, because private here means that it's only accessible from inside this class. And I don't only want to use it from inside this class. I don't want anyone or let anyone use it from outside. So I can make it private because maybe I only want to use it inside my class. For example, what if you have some operations, some things you want to do in your code inside this class, but you probably need to reuse it also inside this class. So you make a function inside this class and you keep reusing it in different parts of this class. It's not always meant to be used outside the class. So in this example here, it still works, no problem. But the main difference is now if I write person, I don't find what is called get name. There is no function called get name. Because it's private, you can't access it. See? If I hover here, it says is inaccessible due to its protection. This is all about functions and method, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment. If there are more subjects you would like me to talk about, or if I missed something here, please leave me a comment. See you in the next video.